Today's video, I want to come on here and talk to y'all about how to be happy. I know that term sounds pretty vague, but I honestly believe happiness is a choice. And I know all the knives and guns are pointing at me right now, but truly, just think about what I'm saying. Happiness is a choice. I feel like happiness is a choice that we consciously or unconsciously make every day. We choose to be happy just as we choose to be sad. I can compare it as like, say you have a bad day, right? Or have a bad week, a bad sequence of events, and you allow those sequence of events to kind of dictate your week. You allow it to let you soak in bed all day, and just think about all the bad things that happen to you. On the flip side, happiness is the same way. Let's say you have a great week, a good sequence of events. You let those sequences of events dictate your week, and you allow your week to be great because you had a great sequence of events to happen that week, if that makes sense. So, yeah, to just understand that happiness is a choice. I feel like it's a choice that we make every day. We make the choice to be happy. We make the choice to be sad. But I want to come on here and explain to y'all ways to be happy, how to be happy. Continuing on, with the first point I want to bring up is just understanding that happiness is subjective to the user. And what I mean by that is everyone has different definitions. Everyone has different standards of happiness. What brings me happiness might not bring the next man happiness or the next woman. It's kind of like success. My definition of success could be, shit, if all I strive for in life is to be a farmer on 40 acres of land, you know what I'm saying, and I achieve that goal, I'm happy and I'm successful. The next man or the next woman, their goal could be to be the richest man or woman on the earth. And when they achieve that goal, then they will be content or happy. And again, happiness is the same way. It's subjective. Understand that happiness is subjective to the person. So I say that to say, think about what makes you happy. Think about what would it take to make you happy. Think about what you need to do, what your life needs to consist of, your habits, your thought processes, your mentality to be happy for you. Not for anyone else, not for the next man, not for the person to your left, the person to your right, your mom, your dad, your uncle, your cousin, your boyfriend, your girlfriend. You. What makes you happy? Think about that. Because a lot of times, like an example I just kind of explained, we tend to look at happiness as a thing of the future. When we think about happiness, when you think about when you're going to be happy if you're not happy in the moment, you think about, oh, cat's making an appearance, sorry. You think about, if I get this, then I will be happy. When I get paid next week, I will be happy. When I XYZ, I will be happy. You're speaking in future tense. A lot of times we think about happiness in the future tense. If I get this, then this will happen. And a lot of times that thinking can lead to demise. If you're always thinking about the future, you're not thinking about where you are right now. Why not think about what you can do to get that happiness, if that makes sense? What can I do to be happy right now? What can I do to aid my goal to become happy? If I get paid next week, what can I do? If you want to save $1,000, and to save that $1,000, you're gonna take money out of your next check. Why not today, in that present moment, do something to get that $1,000 instead of just waiting to the future to be happy? Why not do something to make you happy right now? If you're catching my drift. So, just to wrap up the first key point, just sit and reflect within yourself and name 3 things that make you happy. That's the one thing that I want y'all to do. If y'all take anything away from this video, I want y'all to do that. Name 3 things. Just sit with yourself, write it down, journal it, write it in your phone, your notes, anything, notebook. Name 3 things that make you happy as a person. Again, like I said, these are all subjective. Everyone has different definitions and standards of happiness, but find yours. Take the time to find yours. Continuing on, understanding that your happiness only can rely on you. You cannot gain happiness from anyone else but you, not any external sources. Happiness has to come from within. My cats are fighting, sorry. Continuing on, your habits, your perception of reality, and your way of thinking all contribute to your happiness. And I mean that by your habits. If all you do is binge eat, all you do is scroll on TikTok, all you do is not work out, if all you do is spend money, all you do is just feed into your addictions, of course you're going to be unhappy because your habits do not dictate and do not follow those of a happy person. If you if you get what I mean. To become happy, your habits have to align with the happy person's habits. So on the flip side of that, to be happy, you need to exercise. You need to watch your spending. You need to watch the amount of time you spend on your phone, and the list goes on. Change your habits and watch how happy you become. Watch the difference in your energy, your mood, your personality. Your personality might change, etc. Change your habits and watch the changes happen. For change to happen, change has to happen. Continuing on, your perception of reality as well. A lot of times, we as people, when bad things happen to us, going back to my first example, a lot of times we become the victims of our situations. When things happen to us, we always question why. We can't believe these things happen. Why did it happen to me? What did I do to deserve this? When instead of having that victim mindset, just accept that it happened and understand that you can do something to change your reality. You control your reality. You can either let it consume you, or you can consume it and do something about it. It was a very important quote that I've read from a book. I can't remember the name of the book, but the quote read, "Be a victor, not a victim of life." And what I get from that is, again, like I just said, things are going to happen. Bad things are always going to happen, but you cannot let those bad things dictate your life and become a victim. You need to overpower them and become a victor to those situations, become victorious to those situations. Be a victor, not a victim. Continuing on, your habits, your perception of reality, and your way of thinking are things that control you. I think a key point that we can all understand and agree on is that those things that I just explained, your happiness, your perception of reality, and your way of thinking, are all things that we can control. When you learn that the responsibility of your happiness is on you, I feel like you begin to understand that no one is coming to save you. You have to do it for you. You can't do it for external reasons. You can't do it for internal, or the reason you should do it is for internal reasons. For you. Internally, everything that you do, negating or dictating your happiness, should be done for you. Even if you have kids, even if you have a significant other, to give your kids, your significant other, any relationship the best, to give the best of you, you have to be giving yourself the best, if that makes sense. I explained it in a previous video, but you cannot pour from an empty cup. And I think that's a very important factor that we all have to understand too. To be happy, we have to pour into ourselves. You have to understand that your happiness has to come from you. It cannot come from external sources. It might be a momentary moment of happiness. A moment of happiness that might come from an external source, but truly, pure happiness, everlasting happiness has to come from within. There's a quote that reads, "Happiness is not out there for us to find. The reason it's not out there is that it's inside of us." And what I get from that is really what I just explained. To find happiness, you have to find it within yourself. You can't go out looking for it. You have to go find it for yourself. Lastly, third key point I wanted to talk about is the reason why we sometimes are not happy. I know there's a lot of external sources. It might be financial reasons, emotional stability. A lot of times we have other things going on in life. Do not get me wrong when I say that. And throughout this whole video, I hope no one has misinterpreted me when I say that. I understand that things go on in life. You know what I'm saying? Like, things happen. Things don't always go your way. You don't always. Sometimes we get the short end of the stick. But with that being said, like I said, being a victor, not a victim, at some point you have to realize that life is just going to keep beating you up. At some point you got to fight back, you know what I'm saying? So understand and try to cope with overthinking. A lot of times overthinking is always our demise. Sometimes a situation will happen, you won't get clarity on a situation, and your mind will just run and run and run and run and run, and it'll literally drive you crazy, and it'll literally drive you, most times than not, into a false perception of a situation that never happened. You'll get an outcome that never happened. A lot of times when we overthink, our mind will lead us into this dark path, and then we'll get an answer, but the answer is not true. That's just an answer we came up with in our mind. Say someone doesn't text you back for 2 hours. An overthinking mind will lead you down the path to think that person is doing XYZ, and the whole time that person might just be asleep. Yes, it's miscommunication on the other person, but an overthinking mind will lead you down that path and give you a whole answer that's not true. And now you're sitting there thinking that that person cheated on you. And again, like I said, the whole time they're sleeping. To overcome overthinking, I've struggled with this problem as well. For me, I feel like people overthink when they are bored. A bored mind is an overthinking mind. And I mean that in the way that the only time you have to overthink is when you're not doing anything. If you're not doing anything, you have time to overthink. Your mind has time to just fixate on that one thing and just let it just runs. It just runs like a hamster in a wheel. It just goes like that. And you're just grabbing onto realities. You're just grabbing onto possibilities from that outcome. You're just trying to convince yourself that something that did not happen from that situation, something that did not come from that situation, has became. Understand that the reason you're so in your head about a situation is because you're so in your head about said situation. Sometimes you just have to let your mind rest. Give yourself a break, feed your mind, stimulate your mind. Go take a walk, listen to some music. You know what I'm saying? Give your mind a rest from the stressful situation you're thinking about. Get out of that stressful environment. Sometimes when you're overthinking, it could be because you're in a comfort zone. Go make yourself uncomfortable. Go take a run. Go do something that will take your mind off of that very, very, very uncomfortable situation. Very, very comfortable situation that you're in. That very, very comfortable environment that you're in. Go make yourself uncomfortable, and I promise you, for that moment while your brain is not occupied, while your brain is occupied, you're not going to be thinking about that situation, Overthinking is normally a case of a bored mind. I will continue to say it, and I will continue to say it. You have to eliminate room for a bored mind. Be grounded. Stay where your feet are. That's the most important thing I can tell everyone. Just be where your feet are. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could be thinking about something that happened 2 weeks ago. You could be thinking about something that's going to happen in 2 weeks. Be in the middle. Be grounded. Be where your feet are. Don't worry about those other two. It's hard not to. It's very hard. All of these things I'm saying are very much easier said than done. But again, if you want to be happy, this is just a sacrifice that you have to make. You have to do it for yourself. Because if not, who's going to do it? And lastly, just understand, I've explained it a little earlier, but just take responsibility for your happiness. Do not give others the responsibility for your happiness. Do not let your boyfriend, do not let your girlfriend, do not let your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, your uncle, do not give them the power to dictate your happiness. Yes, people are always going to do things that we don't like, but you give them the opportunity and the power to control your emotions, control your actions, and control your thought process if you let them. They will if you let them. You have to be stronger and understand that it's mind over matter. Situations are going to happen, but if your mind is strong, you're going to be strong. Take responsibility for your happiness. And with that being said, that's all I had to come on here and say. Feel free to DM me on Instagram. Leave comments if you have anything to say. Constructive criticism, anything. I'm welcome to speak to you all. I will link my Instagram below. I hope y'all have a great day. Remember to take care of yourselves. Drink your water. Sleep. Have a great day. I fuck with y'all. Peace out.